Hey everybody, just want to give a quick overview of different ways to share your interactive visualization. So you've made a visualization that's a combination of an HTML file, some JavaScript, some CSS. Maybe it has some data files that it loads, so it needs a server. And there are a bunch of different ways to share this to both your instructor and to your fellow students, and when you're out looking for a job, you want to share this to other people, or just with the broader world. So here's a bunch of strategies that you could use to share it. I'm going to go over each of these individually, and I'll show you a few of them that I think are worth their merit. The first thing you could do is stuff everything into one HTML file. You see content delivery networks for the external libraries, and then inline your JavaScript and your CSS and your data, and then you just have one file. Pretty shareable. You could use JavaScript bin, or there's a bunch of other services like this. You could use GitHub and a master branch in combination with a service like htmlpreview. You could use GitHub Gist and blocks.org. This is what Mike Bostock uses to host visualizations that he demos, and he maintains the site. He's the developer of D3 JavaScript. You could also upload the JavaScript, CSS, HTML files separately to WebSpace, your data files as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about Berkeley's WebSpace in particular. And you could also use GitHub, and by using the GitHub pages branch, their .io pages, which I think is a pretty good strategy for sharing as well. So first, using Content Delivery Network, right, what you end up generating is an HTML file. One file has everything in it, right, and you could email that around to people. Right, this works, and they can open it up in their browser and they'll be able to see it. But in general, I don't think it's that shareable, because you can't post it on the web for people to see, and for people to have to download and then open an HTML file is not really the best way to get your work out there. JavaScript bin, and similar, they have kind of like the for panel, or maybe less, but they have a kind of a paneled structure, and you can see each of the code parts and then the result in kind of the corner. I think that this is okay. People can edit it and go from there, but it's limiting in terms of your visualization, because you have kind of this little pane that you get to actually build stuff in. So I think this is not the best strategy for sharing as well. It's not going to look clean out on the web. You could also use push your code onto GitHub and then use something like htmlpreview. And what this does is it will take your GitHub raw files and display them in a little web space. And this works pretty well, but then the URL you end up with for your files is, I think it's htmlpreview.github.io / your whole thing. So it ends up being this really messy URL. And I can't recommend that, because it's not really great for sharing that around. It's not even on your own web space. So that one's out. So now we've got 3 left, and these I'm going to demo in a little more detail, because I think they're actually pretty shareable. So Blocks is this website hosted by Mike Bostock, and it'll take code that you've posted in a GitHub Gist, and then it'll display it on the web. So I'm going to run through a quick example of using this. All right, so we're going to open up the terminal, and we're going to update a gist. Here's one that's Mike Bostock's chloropleth example. There's a few files in here that I copied down from the gist directly and unzipped. So let's create it using the web interface. So we'll go to gist.github.com, right? Give our new gist a name, right? And then we're going to copy in the README, the index, and the data file. So copy the README file, paste that in. We're going to copy the index file and paste that into the interface. And then we're going to create a public gist. So one more file. Let's get the data file in there. Right, and we're going to create this gist with the public interface. So boom, we have a gist, right? All our data files are there, people can look at, and you've already created a block. So just replace the gist URL with the block URL, and there you have it. You have your visualization at the top. One of the cool features is it'll give you this visualization in a new window. Right, and you can go ahead and edit it right in here. So, I ripped this one off, so I can edit that it's copied directly from Mike Bostock. So put that in there, and then that'll be updated in the block. It takes a few minutes to cache, so that might take a second to update. So that's using the web interface. There's another way that you can upload them using the command line directly, using this GistUp tool. So if you haven't configured it, it'll open the GitHub web page for you to create an access token when you type GistUp. You can install it with npm. Right, so create your GistUp token, right? You're going to need to get access to your gists. So create that token, and then you're going to need to copy it. It'll only display it here this one time, so unless you want to do this again. So copy that token, and then you paste it right in. The tool's pretty slick. It's going to upload directly to GitHub, and then boom, you have a block. It opens the web page for you. You can see this is the only way to actually put a PNG in there. So you can go ahead, and it's created a block. We can go look at it already using that URL, and there it is. Right, it has the gist title, so we can go ahead and edit that title if we want. And it'll update it using there. You can continue to update this gist as well using the Git command line interface now locally, right? So it's cached that name, but it'll update it as well. And with the PNG, you can look at all the gists that I have, and just these two, and has it in there, which is pretty cool. So if you make a lot of these things, it's pretty handy. And so that's making a gist. All right, so we're going to talk about the next example here, which is using your Berkeley web space. So if you haven't set this up, I'll show you how. And the basic idea is you have an Apache served web server where you can post files, and then you'll be able to upload those online. You can put big data files here. You can use any folder structure in HTML and CSS and JavaScript that you want. So I think this is probably the most versatile way that you can upload your stuff. So let's go ahead and take a quick demo of that. All right, so we're back at the terminal, and we're going to upload to the Berkeley web space. So if we want to go look real quickly, it's not the right link, we can go to people.ischool.berkeley.edu. This is my username, so this will be your username. There's nothing here right now. So we can go check that out. If we go to SSH to that actual server, SSH with your username, that's going to be at iSchool, and it's going to be at that URL, so iSchool.berkeley.edu, right? And it's going to ask for my password, which I will type in. Okay, and I'm in. It's calling it Harbinger. I can list the files here, and so the files that it's actually serving are going to be in public HTML. So there's no files here. We can touch just a simple file to verify that we're making files, right? Okay, we see test.html, right? It's blank. So what we want to do is we want to copy up all of our files, right? I hit Control D, but we're going to need to type logout to logout. So we have these web files here. We want to put them up in that space. It'll load index.html by default. So we can use two different tools. We can use secure copy, so SCP, or we can use rsync. Rsync is better if you already have the files up there. It's going to be smart enough not to re-upload, and it'll compress on upload. Not too worried about any of that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and SCP. So I'm going to SCP all the files, and I'm going to put them all at andrew.reagan at ischool.berkeley.edu, right? And I'm going to tell them which folder to go in. So I'm going to put those all in the public HTML folder. It's going to go ahead and ask me for my password again. And then it'll upload each file individually. All right, so now if we go here, there's an index.html, so that file is going to be served by default. It doesn't look like anything's showing up, so let's see what's going on. Server responded. us.json. So it is looking to load this raw file locally. So the us.json actually does not exist. So let's go ahead and actually get that file. So you can see that that data file us.json isn't actually there. So we can go ahead and actually get that from the block site. So if we're going to double wget bl.ocks.org, right, and then we're going to want embostock raw, right? I think I needed an M there. So let's go ahead and copy that file down. Right, so let's make sure we got the right file. us.json, yeah, it looks like a JSON object, right? So let's go ahead and secure copy everything back up to the web server. Right, it'll ask for my password again. Right, it's going to upload the JSON file, and if we go ahead, right, oh, nope, it's actually still loading that file wrong, so we can fix this quickly if we just edit the index.html. Right, let's find us.json, right? So that file is now local, so we could just go ahead and load that. So let's put it up again, and this is, we should be testing this locally, of course, but here we go. If it works locally, it'll work up here. And we have our visualization, so perfect. And you could also use rsync. So here we use secure copy as an example. Let's use rsync. We're going to just copy all files, verbose, zip them, and recursively copy. So we can pass, those are kind of the standard flags, right? And it got it all up there, right? It actually didn't have to copy any files. Okay, great. And we still have the visualization here. Right, so the next thing we want to look at is using GitHub's .io pages. So the .io pages allow you to upload to GitHub and then display the visualization on a web page directly. So let's take an example of a demo of this. So right now we're here on our local server, or on our local folder, and we don't really have anything here for Git. So if I look around, there's no .git, right? So we're going to want to create a GitHub repository for this code. So I'm going to just go to github.com, right? And I'm going to create a new repository, right? Let's just call this W209, right? And I'm going to go over how to do this, how to upload files using the command line. If you want to use Git provides its own GUI client that you can use on Windows, but I'm just going to go over how to do this on the OS X or Linux terminal. So I'm going to create a public one. I'm not going to initialize it with any files. So now I have this repository, right? And so I don't have anything here yet. So I could use all of their base code here, but I really just want to go ahead and init a repository, right? It's now telling me I'm in Git, and I'm going to add all these files, and I'm going to just make an initial commit. So I've got all of these files in Git now, and I can see that I've committed all of these things to master, right? I'm going to want to add this remote, right? And I can push this code up to master. So git push origin master, right? It's going to push all this code up to GitHub, right? And now if we go to GitHub, we can see that, oh, okay, we have master branch, and it's got all this stuff in here. Right, well, GitHub for free. So this is where, at this point, you could go try to display this HTML file inside of you could try to display it inside of HTML preview or something like that. But we're going to want to get a clean URL to share this. So the way that we can do that is we can see that we're on the master branch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new branch specifically called gh-pages. And this specific branch, Git, is going to provide as a web service. So I'm going to head over to that branch, right? Let's see what we got here. We don't have anything. So let's just touch one of these files we have, right? So let's see what we got going on. Well, that didn't actually change it enough. Let's remove the squiggly files that Emacs leaves around. So you can see we've got a change. So let's commit that as a change, right? And then we're going to go ahead and git push. We're going to push this to origin, to GitHub. We're going to push the GitHub pages branch, right? All right, we've created a new branch up here called GitHub pages, right? And I can go look at the code on that branch. There it is. And now the cool part, so GitHub provides a free web page. So you're going to go to your username, right, .github, and then it's going to be .io / the name of the repository. Right? And it is going to host all of the files that are in this GitHub pages branch. So all of these files are provided right at this web URL. So here you have a clean URL, and using a special repository, you can even build a website out here. So I have my website out on GitHub pages, right? So using GitHub pages for a project, and you can check that out. So that's really what I have for different ways to get the web page up on. To get the visualization up on the web. If you have any questions, feel free to slow down the video. I went pretty quickly through some things, so that should be all.